So you're gonna play a 2 chord, and you didn't like how you played it. Why? Because it sounded a little bit boring, and maybe you were trying to give it more of a gospel feel. So let's discuss exactly what a gospel musician would do in a situation like that. I'm Chris Moses, and this is Gospel Progressions University, where I'm here to help you and equip you as a church musician slash musician in general. When we're looking at chords and chord progressions in gospel music, this number one thing you have to understand. Here's the first rule you must know. And I would say it's a rule because it happens so much, it's like a law with gospel. Everything moves in fourths. Yeah, I don't care if you don't see it, it's there. Everything is moving in fourths. So number one, I'm going to show you a chord progression in a moment here. But let's talk about the fourths. If we're looking at fourths, say we're in the key of C major, right? We start from C is 1, D is 2, E is 3, and F is 4. So in gospel music, we would have a chord progression as going from 1, and then the next part of the song would progress us to a 4 chord. Now, with this style of music and with gospel, over the years, there have been many different types of creative ways to get to a 4 because it's used so much. It's a staple. So when things are moving up to the 4, doesn't mean they just go 1 and then 4, and those are only 2 chords. You will have a continuation of fourths, meaning we go from C to F. Now we go from F to B flat. And the fourths I'm referring to is that you have to remember this. Pay attention to the fact that everything is based off of the major scale. So if I say to you, we're doing the fourth of C, which is F, we're talking about the major scale of C, we end on F. So when we move from F, we're doing the same major scale movement. So we go from 1, 2, 3 to B flat. C to F, and we go up a fourth, F to B flat. If we were to go up a fourth again, we're in the key that we left off in, the last key, which would be, of course, B flat. All right, so we end up in B flat, we go up a fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we started in C, we went to F major, and then we went to B flat major. That's where we are now. And this cycle will continue to move in this direction. Everything is based off the major scale. So if I'm looking to go up a fourth, again, I'm basing it off of the B flat major scale. And I'm going to go up a fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue with that. 1, 2, 3, 4. A flat. D flat. G flat. B. And then we continue. E. A to D. And then D to G. And then finally back G to C. And this is how the cycle would continue. This is how we get the basis of the chord progressions of where we're going. Understand that you're doing this already, but you're probably doing it in a diatonic type fashion, meaning you're not leaving the key that you're in as far as the scale tones. So now I'm going to show you something here, and I'm going to show you how we get from one place to another. We're looking to progress from the 1 chord to a 2 chord. So for example, if you played, I'll play part of the song, I'll Bless Thee, O Lord, right? And I'll play it diatonically in D flat, right? D flat major. So the melody is. All right. So we went from the 1 chord, then we went to a 3 chord, and then we went to a 6 chord. All right. And then a 2 chord. Now, when we talk about the chords that we're moving in a fashion of fourths, gospel music has come up with a shortcut to move in fourths. And what we do now is use something called the tritone. The reason that is because of this. We go back to the key of C, right? C major. Now, For me to get to F major, right? Because remember, gospel music is moving in fourths. The best thing for me to do is take this C chord and make it a dominant chord. I want to do that because this is a stronger pull to an F chord. It's a lot stronger than just C major. But if I made it a C dominant, I'm implying where I'm going. I'm kind of giving you a hint. I'm like saying, hey, pay attention because I'm taking this up a fourth. Well, how do you know? What's the biggest implicator of that, or the indication? What's that B flat? Because if we went to the key of F major, we have B flat. So now we have this here. And then we go up a fourth. Same thing when we move up another fourth. We go to F, right? We're no longer, well, we're still in F major, but if we do this, what did we do? We're adding fourths. Every time we go up in a fourth, we're adding a flat. Not adding fourths, we're going up a fourth, so we're adding a flat. C has no flats. F has one flat. It retains it. It keeps going. So now when you go from that one flat that you have, you're going to go now to B flat, which has two flats. B flat and E flat, and so forth. But every time we do that, we're doing something here. So getting back to the key of C, right? We have a flat now, we go to F. We want to get to B flat, the strongest pull is what? A dominant chord. Go here and we go to B flat. So here's a shortcut gospel musicians came up with. We have F and B. And we have E and B flat, E and A flat. These are all called tritones, right? Notice, let's go back and look at the key of C major. What do we notice here? There is a tritone. The tritone basically are three whole steps away. 1, 2, and 3. So that's a tritone. So now with this tritone, if we notice we're moving in fourths, right? We go here. If we want to move in a fourth again, looky here, look at what we have. Another tritone. Let's invert the tritone. Okay, we're just playing the same tritone for F. Let's go back to C. Bear with me, I'm making a point here. Now, we got the E and the B flat, right? Notice that the E and the B flat make C a dominant seventh. When we do F major, we add the E flat. Notice that we have the third and the flatted seventh, which makes F a dominant 7 chord. Going back to C again. Remember, E and B flat. Going back to F. Remember, E and E flat and A. So, to move in fourths, all we need to do are these things. We can take out the bass for a second, right? Let's say we have this here, we took it out. We go up a fourth. We just go down a half step, the tritone. Now, if you're a step ahead of me and you kind of caught on where I'm going, you'll probably notice a pattern here. So, see? C dominant, F dominant. Again, I'll show you. Then we go to B flat, right? E, B flat from C, E flat, A from F, D, B, and A flat from B flat. And we can keep going. D flat and G to E flat. This gives me the 3, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. So organists, you'll see them do that as well. What they'll do, if they started out in C and they wanted to move up in fourths, they'll go C, F, B flat, and B flat and E flat, right? Hopefully I did that right. Crossing my hands is kind of weird. So C, F, B flat, and E flat. And they're doing that all on the bass pedal. So it's, so C again, C, bum, 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 That's your B flat, E flat, okay? And that's your cycle or circle of fifths. So what does this have to do with going to a 2 chord? Remember, whenever we're moving in fourths, we're gonna go and add a dominant chord. That's the strongest, the best thing. It's the strongest pull. It's because you add a flat. You add a flat, you're giving away, you're telling the ear, hey, listen up, listen up. This is what I'm about to go and do. So the ear expects you to do that. It wants to hear that sound, that cadence, versus not using that dominant sound. So this dominance is all over, these dominant chords are all over gospel. Now, if I wanted to go to any chord progression and I wanted to have a strong pull, say I wanted to go to, I don't know, E flat, right? Major, well, of course I'm going to use a dominant because that sound pulls right to a fourth up. So now to get to that E flat, we notice that, well, this sound here pulls greatly to the E flat, or the B flat dominant goes nice to the E flat. The B flat dominant also goes nice to the E flat minor. It's still a fourth up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Doesn't make a difference. Where it's coming from, it's a fourth up. Or where it's landing, either it's a minor or a major, both work the same way. So with that in mind, we now can look at a chord progression. We would say, okay, well, let's get ourselves to this E flat. And we can skip the rest of the things because we're actually going to do the chord progression is going to get us to where we need to go. So now, if I'm playing this song and I want to go to E flat, I would do this. Okay, see what I did there? I made the B flat a dominant 7 chord. And then I went to E flat. Doesn't it sound better? Of course, because it pulls to it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, everything is moving up in fourths. Either 1, 2, 3, 4 minor or 1, 2, 3, 4 major. Still the same thing. When I say minor, I'm saying like B flat minor isn't related to D flat, or B flat major isn't related to B flat major. A fourth is a fourth. Okay, so now I know that this is where I'm going to end up. The last chord I'm going to play before I get to the 2 chord, which would be E flat minor. Okay, I'm going to end up there. So how do I back up a couple of steps? So if I say I want to get to the B flat and make it dominant, well, why don't I make the note that comes before it the dominant chord? What about F? So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, you see what I did there? So I backed it up a little bit. What I did here, I did the F minor, the F dominant, and then I went to the B flat minor. But because I wasn't quite ready yet to set up the chord progression for the E flat. Now we're here. So what comes before E flat? Or F rather. If we're moving up in fourths, we got to think of fifths now if we're going to go the other direction. If you get what I'm saying. If we go backwards or forwards, they switch. It's either going to be up a fifth or down a fourth. What I mean is this. Remember, if we go from C to F to B flat, we know B flat comes before F and C comes before F. Or F comes before B flat and C comes before F, right? So we know we have this now. We have this so far, the B flat, and we have the F. So what comes before the F if we're counting in fourths? Up a fifth or down a fourth, either way, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything is based off of the major scale. So we're going to go back now and say, okay, well, we'll play this F here. Let's try this C. So we can maybe try this. And we can listen to a melody. All right. And we can try, say, remember we're going backwards, going to fourths, right? You see what I did? Again. Or rather, you can go. So I'll do it one more time. So we start on a 1. All right, 1. And we do this. Okay, we can do that and get away with it. Remember now, what if we went and we said, okay, we'll go a step further. What comes before C? We'll think again. Remember, if C is going to act as a fourth, where this chord is going to get to, is either going to be 5 one direction or 4 the other direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have G, right? And now to get to G, to get to C from G, we're going to have, remember that? This tritone here, or we can invert it here. So, but then we got to play the timing. It's going to be a little bit tricky. See what I mean? So now we're occupying ourselves. This is why we play rootless voicing. Or people say rootless. Well, the root is in there somewhere. But we don't occupy ourselves so much sometimes as keyboard players if you have the luxury of having a bass player, because it allows you to do more melodic or things that match the melody to express the music more, well, melodious, not to use the word to be redundant, but the point being here is that I wanted to show you how and draw out the bass, right? Or the roots of the chords. And this, we can do this forever, just as long as we have enough time and as long as it's practical. So backing up now to us moving in fourths. Remember, if I went from C, I wanted to move a fourth up in a tritone, F, to B flat, to D flat, right? I'm sorry, to E flat, D flat, and G, tritones. So what if I did this? You understand? And then the next chord will give us the E flat. See how that works? We go from the B flat to the E flat. It's the final chord. So we have this chord here, right? The 1 chord. Even though we have the tritone here. What tritone is that? Well, we know we're going to C, because this is the tritone for G. All right, C. So we can do something like this. We can free ourselves up a little bit. Okay, so now let's extend that. What if now we say we wanted to use those dominant chords and kind of change them a little bit? Well, we can alter them. Alter, change, same thing. When we alter it, we're using an altered chord or a changed chord. And what you would alter in a dominant chord, right? You have your 1, your 3, your 5, and your 7, or your tritone, right? Typically, what you're going to alter is going to be the 5th interval, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by either bringing it up a half step or down a half step, or the 9th interval, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, by bringing it up a half step or down a half step. This makes things more interesting. So for example, this sounds nice, right? This here, okay? But what if we said, okay, let's take the 5th now of the dominant chord and then alter it? So what if we did this? It's a little more interesting, a little bit more colorful, right? And with dominant chords, we can do that with any dominant chord. We can alter, remember, the 5th or the 9th, 5, sharp or flat, or the 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Up a half step, down a half step. Do the same thing with C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up a half step, down a half step. We can alter it. Or the 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Up a half step or down a half step. We can change it like that. We can do both the 5 and the 9 and bring it up a half step, making them both sharp, or take both the 5 and the 9 for like C or any other dominant chord, and taking it down a half step to flatten it. Or we could even take the 9 and bring it up a half step and bring the 5 down a half step, make the 5 flat, the 9 sharp, or do any kind of combination. The 5 could be sharp, 9 could be flat, and so on. Just don't play the 9, all right? For purposes that I'll tell you about in another video. Now, the 9 or the 5, we'll leave this out. If we alter them, we're changing it because we're going to stick to that for now, okay? So now if we did that now, we did something like this, right? All right? And we went to the tritone, right? Now, remember what I said about the G chord, right? We can alter it the 5th or the 9th, all right? So what if we did something like that? We took the 5th, we brought that up a half step, so. All right. Now we have this up here. That sounds nice, right? Take that now. What if we did now? We have this over here. So we have this. Okay. And now we can go and do the same thing we did before, right? Is there something else that we can do? All right. Well, remember what we do for the first dominant chord, we can do for all the dominant chords. Well, let's come back and continue with that first dominant chord. So we said we're going to alter the 1, 3, 5 and bring it up a half step. So what if we said now we want to go to the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and change the 9 and say we brought it back a half step. As we bring up the 5 a half step, we bring the 9 back a half step, right? So we have this. And we can do, right? But like I said, what we do for the first chord, the first dominant chord, we can do for all the chords. So now if we take that and we move it to the other ones, what would it sound like, right? Remember, this is G, this is C, this is F, and that's B flat. And we took G and we altered it, and we changed it, all right? We changed it here, we did that, or this, right? I think, I don't remember. Oh yes, right? We brought this up a half step, 8, 9. When you count 9s and other, they're called upper extensions. So after we pass 8 as an octave, now we can add other numbers on there. We don't have to start back over from 1 again because, well, this 8 is 1. It's an octave. It's the same thing. But we start 8, 9, 10, 11, so all the way up to 13, which would be right here as the E. But for all intents and purposes, we're not even going to get past this over here. This is the furthest we'll go with this, right? So change this. We're not playing this anymore. We're not playing this. And we're not playing this anymore. The 9, which is 8. We're going to play the A flat. And remember, what you do for every chord, for the first dominant chord, you can continue that same pattern, especially when you're going on in half steps or chromatically, all right? So we have this here. So we did this, right? See how that works? We have the same dominant chord here. B flat, but we're not playing the B flat because, hey, why not? Leave it out. Now we're in E flat minor, or we're playing the E flat minor. This is why I say don't worry so much about, well, what key is it in? Well, the key will help you with the melody, right? That you have to know that part. But if you can think of what your progressions are, including scales and what ideas you can use based on principles that gospel music moves in fourths and tritones can be used just to be moved down or go down in half steps chromatically, and you can add interesting elements to that. So again, we can play that, and if you don't want to play like this where you're just playing dyads, we can break that up and do this. Or rather, we can do do this. Okay. And that's how we would end. Or end that part of the phrase, because we were resolved to the 2. So that's an interesting way to get to the 2 chord, by basically making everything that precedes it a dominant chord. We can go further with this, and actually I can break down some other things. I want you to understand this, but for you to get a better grasp of this, you have to check out gospelprogressionsuniversity.com/gospelpiece-pro and download my free guide. It's going to help you. It's called What Do Pro Musicians Know That You Don't? So check that out. I'll leave the link in the description. Have a blessed one, and I will see you in the next video.